What if I told you there's adults who actually believe in Santa Claus? What would you think about such an adult? Can you imagine? There's just adults and they live by themselves or with other people, but they don't have children. And December the 24th, they come out into the main room and leave a glass of milk and a dish full of cookies. And you walk in and you say, "What are you doing?" "Well, I'm leaving out milk and cookies for Santa Claus." What would you think of a roommate like that? What if you went over to your friend's house on December the 24th and you just wanted to wish them a winter solstice goodwill? And you looked over and on their end table, let's say, in their main room, where the tree is, where the winter solstice tree is, the evergreen tree, and on the end table or some other kind of table, there's milk and cookies. And you say, "What? Are you having milk and cookies?" "No, I'm leaving them out for Santa Claus." Can you imagine a friend of yours, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years old, saying that to you? What would you think of your friend, of a family member, a neighbor? "Where are you going?" "Well, I'm going out to buy some milk and cookies so I can leave them out for Santa Claus." What would you think of that person? What would you think if that person that you're visiting, you're going over to your friend's house, there's milk and cookies he's got out, and he says to you, "Oh, wait a minute, I need to turn the TV on and check Santa's progress. There's a weather channel tracks Santa's progress around the globe." So he turns on the TV and he's watching it. He's into it. He believes it. "Oh, look where Santa is. I can stay up a couple more hours. It's going to take him a few more hours to get to our area." What would you think of such a friend? What would you say? Would you say, "Yes, I know. Yeah, I need to get home and put out my milk and cookies"? Would you go along with it? Or would you say, "What the F, dude?" Or what the F, girlfriend? Would you kind of just go along? And throughout the year, you would go along with this person as they talk about how Santa Claus is coming next year? Would you go along with them in January and February, March, all year long? Every Sunday, they spend a moment making sure they're good because they don't want to be on Santa's list of bad people. Santa is checking his list and he's checking it twice. He's going to find out who's naughty and nice. And this person is 20 years old. Maybe this person's 30 years old. Maybe this person's 40 years old, 50 years old, 60 years old, 70 years old. At what age do you say dude or girlfriend? What the hell? Santa Claus isn't real. Yet every day we go along to get along with our family, with our friends, with our co-workers, with our neighbors, when they believe in God. Oh yes, I'm worried that I'm on God's naughty list. Yes, I'm going to take a few hours every Sunday, a few hours of my life, and go make sure that Santa Claus / God is okay with me, approves of me, or if it doesn't approve with me, that I'm forgiven. Asking God to forgive you is the equivalent of an adult putting out milk and cookies for Santa Claus. Making sure that you're not on the naughty list, you're on the nice list, and worrying about it and spending your life living to make sure you're on the good list is like turning the TV on at 50 years, 60 years old and watching the weatherman track Santa Claus in his sleigh of magical flying reindeer on Dancer and Prancer and Vixen. And there's Rudolph with his red nose leading the sleigh. You can't get more ridiculous than that, except for a man rose from the dead. A man walked on water. It doesn't get any more unbelievable than that. But we go along with these people. We allow them their delusion. Would we allow them the delusion of Santa Claus? No. We don't keep that ruse going. And we don't let other people keep believing that ruse. I know when I got about 7 years old, my brother told me there was no Santa Claus. And I was pissed. Not because there wasn't a Santa Claus. I wasn't pissed about that. I was pissed because my parents had lied to me. And I talk to Christians all the time because obviously I'm surrounded by these people. In my family, my friends, my neighbors, my coworkers. And when they tell me, when I ask them, how do you know there's a God? Well, my parents taught me about Jesus. I said, maybe your parents are lying to you about Jesus. Oh, no, they wouldn't lie to me about that. I said, do you remember? Do you remember when you were young and they lied to you about Santa Claus? What do you mean your parents wouldn't lie to you? What do you mean that they won't lie to you about a magical being that gives you presents when you're good and gives you switches and bags of coal when you're bad? God is just the adult version of that. Now we are all told about the bullshit of Santa Claus. And you're told that. And you're not allowed to believe after a certain age. In our society, it is embarrassing for someone older and old to still believe in Santa Claus. If your spouse still believed in Santa Claus at 40 years old, you would be embarrassed. If your parents still believed in Santa Claus after you were 20, they said, oh yes, Santa Claus is real. I can't believe you don't believe in Santa Claus. What you mean there is no Santa Claus? There is a Santa Claus. There are reindeer. I even know their names. Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, Vixen, Ray Rudolph. They fly. Santa lives at the North Pole. I even know where he lives. Santa Claus is real. Could you handle that? Yet we go along to get along about this imaginary God. Would you go along to get along about an aged person, 20 years or older, believing in Santa Claus? Can you imagine college students going to college and finding out that their roommate still believes in Santa Claus? Can you imagine graduating college or university, going to work and finding out that your boss that just hired you for a job, you start working there and find out that your boss still believes in Santa Claus and that your coworkers are going along with him? Yes, there's a Santa Claus. To get along, going along to get along. Their boss believes in Santa Claus, so they believe in Santa Claus. Well, God is the adult Santa Claus. He's going to bring you presents. He's going to treat you nice. And this Santa Claus even reaches beyond the grave and gives you more presents and more life. You're going to live eternally with Santa Claus and his son, the son of Santa Claus, Rudolph. You're going to see Rudolph when you die. Are you going to believe that? Well, if you have blind faith, which all superstitious Christians have, must have, because they don't have any verifiable evidence. They will tell you, if you ask them for verifiable evidence, when you knock down the evidence that they have because it's not verifiable, then the last thing they will tell you, well, you've got to have the faith. You've got to have the faith. Well, if you do not need verifiable evidence, what can't you believe in? Unicorns. There's no verifiable evidence of that. Why not believe them? Believe in them. Fairies, pixies, unicorns, trolls, frogs that turn into princes, hobbits, Harry Potter, and a magic wand. Why not believe in those things? There's no evidence that they exist either. And they can be believed on faith. Walk across the street. Don't look both ways. Just take it on faith. How crazy is that? Well, I'm going to walk across this busy intersection and I'm not going to look both ways. I'm going to take it on faith that I'll make it to the other side. Oh, and I'm walking along in a 20-story building and I'm going out on the balcony and I'm going to jump off the balcony. I'm up 20 stories and I'm going to jump because I have faith. I'll be all right. Now, I know that superstitious have an answer for that. You're not supposed to test faith. You're just supposed to believe it. Because you know what the verifiable evidence is if you test this faith. If you jump off of a 20-story building from the roof, the verifiable evidence is going to be very clear, very quickly. So they have Jesus not being fooled by the challenge of verifying his faith. You know, I'm not going to climb up on a 20-story building and jump off of it on purpose and to verify my faith. Well, of course not, because you know what the verifiable evidence is going to show. You're going to be dead. You're going to be dead. That's the truth. And if you verify your evidence, you're going to be dead. So they even make it where, I can't push God. I can't test my faith. That's not right. Of course it's not right. Because if you test it, then you're going to find out it's bullshit. And it's weird, that every child, when they get a certain age, is told that Santa Claus isn't real. That occurs in our society. But we replace Santa Claus with God. And we bring God to the forefront. And here's the pitiful thing about it. See, I'm an atheist. My wife's a humanist. And we taught our daughter from the time that she was old enough to be explained things to. We sat her down and we told her there is no Santa Claus. But don't tell the other kids because their parents will be pissed at you. And you probably won't be allowed to be anybody's friend. So keep it to yourself. But know that there is no Santa Claus. Now, someone will say, oh, that's awful not to give them their childhood. But we did give her a childhood that was real, not a childhood that was fantasy. You see, we told her that the presents she got were from her family who loved her so much that they wanted to give her a present during the winter solstice. That the presents under the tree were from loving friends and neighbors and acquaintances. That this time of year we show our love for one another by exchanging gifts. I mean, she looked at the presents, and the presents don't say from Santa Claus. They said from aunt and uncle and cousin. You don't put Santa Claus on all the presents from Santa Claus. You say, oh, look, this present is from, and the child is supposed to believe that that was brought by Santa Claus. You're screwing with their minds at what? From the earliest of age. And it's better to believe in a fantasy than to tell children a lie rather than tell them the truth that because the people they know love them, that they exchange gifts at this time of year. That seems to me to be a more wonderful, wondrous wonder than anything. That we love each other enough, that we exchange gifts. And it's not really the gift inside the package, it's the expression of love. Because I may get a $50 gift from someone, and I may give them a $100 gift. I'm not checking if I'm getting an equal or more valued item from them. I'm giving them a present that I'm looked for and chosen to give them to show my love for them. And you have chosen this present, and you pick it out, especially for your loved one, whether your loved one is a family member, a friend, a neighbor, a coworker. That seems to be a more wondrous truth than the fairy tale of Santa Claus. Now, children, they are very imaginative, and they come up with a lot of imaginary things. You can put a child in a room, and they'll turn a box into a castle. They may turn it into a kitchen stove. A girl may take a box, and you say, "What are you doing?" Well, it's my stove. I'm cooking. You know, they have the imagination. So you don't have to lie to them. Their minds are imaginative at that age. Very creative. And you're not denying them a childhood because you won't lie to them. Adding this adult invented fantasy to their brain and pretend it's real is imposing our adult fantasy onto our children. They can come up with their own fantasies. It's a natural process for a child. You know, the boys are out in the sand or in the dirt with their trucks, and they're making their trucks go around, and they may be constructing something. You know, you give them a saber, and they're pretending. When we were children of my generation, we would play cowboys and Indians, and we would take broomsticks, old broomsticks, and act like those were horses. We weren't crazy. We're just kids. We were just children with an imagination, and we're learning through our play. We're playing. And you don't have to impose on these children your, as an adult, an adult idea of what a fantasy should be. It's the difference between top-down authority and bottom-up authority. The child playing is engaging their own mind for their own purpose of learning. And then here comes along the adult. You're doing this wrong. You know, when my generation was children, we would gather up the neighborhood children, the kids. The guys would gather up, and they would say, "Hey, let's go to this field, or maybe to a school." When a school was out, we would go down to the school playground, and we would play baseball, football. You know, we would in my neighborhood, a block away from where we lived, we had a school, and during the summer months when the school was closed, we would go down there, and we would play football, and the school even had a baseball area, and we would play softball there. And the school where the batter was at, the fence was about 30 feet high. So when you threw the ball didn't fly out into the street. And they had about a 15-foot high fence all around the school, and there was a gate. So we were secure in there. But it was kids getting together and playing. Bottom up authority. The kids learned to get along and deal with them, each other, and life. Then here comes along today. You got to have a little league where the adults tell the kids how to play, where the adults say someone is out or safe and when to play. We got a game next Wednesday. I don't want to go. Well, you got to go. You're a member of the team. You know, when my generation, if there was a game and you wanted to play, you went and played. If you didn't want to play that game that day, you didn't go, or you just went and watched. You didn't participate. But along comes the adult. You know, you must play. You must follow our rules. You play when we tell you to. You'll play where we tell you to. Your parents will bring you. Your parents will pick you up. You know, the parents that have enrolled their children in ballet and other forms of activities that are ruled by adults.
It's 3:00.
You don't have to constantly be imposing the adult vision onto the children as far as play. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be involved with your child's life. You should know your child's friends, your child's favorite music. You should be involved. But being involved, participating as someone they can rely on, someone they can seek out advice for, but living their lives for them, scheduling Little League, then ballet, and then music lessons, and scheduling their lives out for them, that's living their lives without their input and participation. You're telling them how to live their lives every moment of their lives. And to impose this Santa Claus onto them. And Santa Claus is just the gateway drug to the adult Santa Claus, God. This is the real agenda of the church. Teach your church members to teach their children about Santa Claus. Get them used to this top-down authority that they must please without question. And then when they get older and they stop believing about Santa Claus, you've got God. Now it's not Santa Claus, it is God who will send you to hell. Talk about a naughty list. Send you to hell. You'll burn forever. And the church, who you didn't elect as your representative, but claims to be anointed and appointed by God, tells you what to do. I hear a lot of people saying, we're going to take back our country. You better take back your life first. You can't take back your country when you don't have control of your own life. And talk about Big Brother. If you think Barack Obama is Big Brother. There's no one more huge, more of a big brother than God. Talk about unquestioning authority. You must not question God. You must obey God. That's your purpose in life, to obey God. Unquestionably, if you question, you will burn in hell. What a big brother. And these superstitious people claim they want freedom, sovereignty, and individualism. And they got this big brother God watching them 24/7. Today in the politics, everyone is upset that government, the NSA, is reading and capturing everything we do on the internet. But this Christian God or this Muslim God, this religious God, this religious big brother, this superstitious religious big brother, he's not only watching everything you do on the internet, he's watching everything you do in your whole life. Big brother Jehovah, big brother Yahweh, big brother Muhammad is watching every move you make, every breath you take. Wow. And you're worried about NASA or the NSA? Wow. There's no more big brother than God. You can't question big brother God. You must obey big brother God. Unquestionably. If big brother God tells you to jump, you jump. You don't ask how high. If big brother wants you to kill your neighbor, you kill your neighbor. Big brother is never wrong. Big brother God is never wrong. And this all comes back to when our children are taught to believe in the magical big brother Santa Claus. Santa Claus prepares them for God, prepares them to obey outside authority over their own morality. It's just that simple.